6-year-old boy fighting for his life. His mother, Michelle Schlemmer, 40 years old, stuck him and his kid brother in a tub. The 3-year-old boy dead, drowned. The 6-year-old fighting for his life on life support. There are so many eerie parallels between this mom in this case and Andrea Yates, who drowned her 5 kids in the family bathtub back in 2001. Both women, just to go through some of the similarities, used to have jobs. Andrea had been a nurse. This woman, Michelle, had been a teacher. Both became stay-at-home wives and mothers. They both admitted to drowning their sons in the bathtub while their husbands were at work. They both killed sons named Luke. And they both claimed to hear voices, and both actually made references to the kids being better off in heaven in some form or another. Both of these families were deeply religious. So what pushed these two mothers over the edge to commit a crime that most people cannot imagine? To get some insight, we're very honored to be joined tonight by a very special guest, Rusty Yates, the former husband of Andrea Yates. We're talking about a man who's lost 5 children with Andrea, but who is now remarried and started a new family. Rusty, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I know it's difficult. Yeah. I know it's got to bring up old memories. What do you make of the stunning parallels between this case and the tragedy involving your 5 children and your ex-wife, Andrea Yates?
Well, there are some parallels. You know, I mean the obvious. You know, with the drownings and all, and you know, everybody's different. You know, it's kind of hard to say, you know, what motivates one person to do a crazy act and another to do another, you know.
Well, let me just outline the case a little bit more. I mean, just like Michelle Schlemmer, Andrea claimed to have heard voices telling her to drown her 5 children. Andrea was initially convicted of capital murder and sentenced to life in prison, but the verdict was then overturned on appeal. Andrea got a new trial. Check this out.
We, the jury, find the defendant Andrea P.A. Yates not guilty by reason of insanity. Signed, Todd Christopher Frank, foreman of the jury.
Ultimately, she was found not guilty by reason of insanity and sent to a mental hospital. Now, I just want to talk a little bit about meds, because this other woman, Michelle Schlemmer, she had anxiety that the pastor said they were dealing with through medical assistance. I would be very interested to find out if she was on some kind of antipsychotic or antidepressants, because, Rusty, I know you complained about how your ex-wife, Andrea, was medicated, the pattern of the medication, and how sometimes she refused to take her medication. Do you think that medication could be a problem here?
Yes, I do. You know, people don't talk about that much, and you know, like in Andrea's case, she was taken off of antipsychotic medicines about 2 weeks before the tragedy, and then her dose of antidepressants was changed significantly 2 nights before the tragedy. So from what I understand, sometimes when people go on or off psychotropic medication, you know, it can trigger, you know, really bizarre behavior, and that, you know, it's certainly a factor, sure.
Now, Andrea said she was hearing voices, and some call this command hallucinations. And psychiatrists have told me they start out as voices you can resist, but without the proper help, they get stronger and stronger, and then you ultimately become unable to resist them. This other woman, Michelle Schlemmer's friend, said she recently revealed she was having up and down emotions. Her pastor said there were anxiety issues. They were working through medical assistance. I'm very interested to know your thoughts, Rusty, on the whole issue of hearing voices. I mean, your ex-wife heard voices. How much did you know about that? Did you know that they were command hallucinations, that she was ultimately trying to resist the urge to kill her kids and your kids, and ultimately could not resist those commands?
No, I didn't know that, and you know, it's a good point, because sometimes you see people who are quiet, and you just assume that they're quiet, you know, they're their normal selves, you know, and in Andrea's case, she was really just trying to maintain control, you know, control over thoughts, and you know, I agree. I think those thoughts just overcame her, and you know, the same thing could have happened here. I mean, there was some indication that, you know, looking back, at least with the this Miss Schlemmer, that she you know, she may have tried to harm her kids before. So there's no telling how long, she was dealing with that. Is that something new, or, was that an accident before, or was it not? It seems kind of coincidental that that would be an accident, but it's possible.
You stood by Andrea, and this husband is standing by this woman. Some find it incomprehensible. Children dead, your flesh and blood. How? How can you stand by somebody who kills your offspring, even if they're your spouse?
Well, first, I really feel for their family. It's like they're carrying on a pretty normal life, and all of a sudden, they have huge losses of their children. They're thrust into the media, spotlight, and, which is, completely unfamiliar to them. And, but you have to give him some credit, too, because he knows his wife, he knows his family, he knows how they lived, he knows what was going on, in their household. He may not understand it all yet, but sometimes when things happen where, someone who knows the person looks and says, hey, this was completely out of character, how could this have happened? And if they come to an understanding that it was not that person, as bad character, but it was their mental illness that really led them to that bad act, then you can start to see the person more as a victim than as a perpetrator. You see them as someone who needed help, someone who needs help, not an evil villain.